this is not an address that would usually be highly controversial in Washington, D.C. It's actually one of those times in Washington, usually in the past, that you'd see the most bipartisan support, the most you'd see the clapping from both the right and the left side of the joint session of Congress coming together, because there has been widespread support for the Jewish state of Israel. But now there is division, especially amongst the Democrat Party, strong division with real, it's not just 2 or 3 Democrats anymore, offshoots. This is really, I think, as we said, it's starting to divide the Democrat Party and make it very difficult for the Biden administration and Democrats to play, on the one hand, pro-Israel, on the other hand, listen to the Israeli leaders say, hey, they say that they're pro-Israel, but they're not sending us the weapons that we need to replenish the stocks that we need to have the weapons that we need to finish this war against Hamas. That we are the U.S. #1 ally, that we fight common enemies that both want to destroy the United States and Israel, and yet you are not sending us the munitions we need. So this speech will be interesting because about a month away, July 24th, of course, I think you'll still see a lot of members of Congress there. It will be a very full room. But likely what we noticed is, even in some video and during the break with Jamie Raskin, is that there are members of Congress who never would have thought about not attending that meeting. They don't want to say they're going to be there. I think they will be, but I think it's because they've got a base of support that is that protest base, and they don't want to upset them when they return to their districts at the end of the summer.
Well, I think the member of Congress that is most in the most precarious situation here is the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, because, yes, you're getting tweets like this, and we can put it up on the screen, as a response to the video from Prime Minister Netanyahu. This was from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She said, this man should not be addressing Congress. He is a war criminal and certainly has no regard for U.S. law, which explicitly designed to prevent U.S. weapons from facilitating human rights abuses. We understand she's going to say that. That's the Hamas caucus, as we call them. But what you're also starting to see is people like the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, break with the current leader of her party, whom she endorsed, who she has given a lot of aid to within, of helping him know the ropes. The Democrats hope that he is the next Speaker of the House. This is their guy. Now, Hakeem Jeffries has actually done a pretty good job when it comes to Israel. He showed support by being a bipartisan at the vigil and rally they had in front of the U.S. Capitol after October 7th. Yep. He has been in meetings and shown support for the state of Israel. But now you have not only AOC, but you have the Jamie Raskins, and you even have Nancy Pelosi. This is what she said. This is bite number 2 about the leadership of the party, both Chuck Schumer and Jeffries, signing off on this invitation to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to Congress. Let's go ahead and play bite 2 and hear what Nancy Pelosi had to say.
If you were still Speaker, would you have invited him?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that I think this is wrong. Frankly, I didn't approve of his being invited the last time, but the Speaker just on his own invited him without consulting with the rest of the leadership. And he came and he criticized President Obama for the masterful work that he had done with the nuclear agreement regarding Iran to stop them from developing a nuclear weapon. And I thought it was completely inappropriate. I feel it's very sad that he has been invited.
So, Jordan, you have the former Speaker of the House criticizing the move by the current leadership of her party. It seems like Hakeem Jeffries is in the most precarious situation for Democrats at this time.
Well, I think that's a good spot for conservatives, a good spot for Republicans. But, on this issue, I don't love that. I don't love the fact that we're having to make this a partisan issue. That's not good for Israel. We don't the fact that this is damaging and disrupting the Democrat Party, maybe that helps our candidates and people that we like and support come November. But what it's not helping right now is get any hostages home. It's not helping Israel defend itself. And again, I say, if we can't unite around anything in the United States, and that was like the last issue, especially, foreign issue, international issue that united most Republicans and Democrats from the House and the Senate. It was a show of unity for the Jewish state of Israel. If that's no longer present in Washington, D.C., we unite around nothing. And if we unite around nothing, this is what when you get to complete deadlock, and you've got to either have, I'm sure we'd all love to see a Republican House, Senate, and White House after this election cycle, because it's the only way things would get done. I mean, the pressure on these leaders right now, the Democrat leaders, and Hakeem Jeffries, you wonder, how long it will be until he rescinds that invitation. I wonder if Chuck Schumer will rescind the invitation. I mean, he gave a speech that was very nasty about Netanyahu. Or does he use the speech to say, listen, I've been really tough on Netanyahu, so I'm going to let him come and speak, and we'll see what he has to say, both publicly and in meetings with us, about the support they need, and we'll decide if we're going to give it to them or not. I mean, you could play it that way, but you are giving Netanyahu, since the biggest stage in the United States, at a time, in the middle of the summer, right before they go on recess, to address not just the members of Congress, but the American people. And I think that the American people, for the most part, watching a bunch of Democrats protest that, are going to be pretty sickened. They are not. Most Americans are not the protesters in the streets. But as we've talked about with Jeff Balaban, Will, that we have seen this encroaching anti-Israel kind of belief system, not just in the Democrat Party, but inside even our own churches and communities on, maybe the right side of the aisle. It started this questioning about whether we should support the Jewish state of Israel.
That's right. And as we saw the reports that the White House is fuming, we're going to see how much clout on Capitol Hill the Biden administration still has. Is he going to be able to effectively get the leadership within the House and Senate to rescind their invitation to Prime Minister Netanyahu as they canceled the meeting on Thursday with the high-ranking Israeli delegation that was going to be meeting about the Iranian threat? So I do think that we're going to see how this plays out, and there's only a few weeks away. And these trips for a foreign leader to come speak to Congress, there's a lot of prep work that goes into that. That's not just you hop on a plane, you show up at the Capitol. There's, especially in the climate that's in D.C. right now, that's a high-risk, high-security situation where the prime minister has a lot of planning to do with Congress to make sure that that goes off without a hitch. I think that we will find out probably in the next week or so what kind of pressure the White House puts on Congress, what kind of pressure within the own party, within the House, we see that gets put on Hakeem Jeffries. And I think that Chuck Schumer is in a much more comfortable position because the Senate Democrats, even when they say like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are saying that they will protest this, they typically don't have as much pressure on Senator Schumer as the House members can have on the minority leader in that situation. But just as a matter of policy and where we're at, I agree with everything you say. It's almost beyond belief that this is where we're at in the middle of summer and an election year, and seeing how divisive standing with an ally can be. With all of the foreign policy games that the United States plays, the one democracy, the one human rights protector in that region, we are now having protests and canceled meetings over having the leader of Israel come speak to Congress.
And how serious is Biden and the administration really taking the Iranian threat if they're willing to cancel a meeting on that threat with Israel because of Netanyahu's video about not having the munitions they need that they were promised to the United States? Listen, when he speaks in English like that, that's not a message for his people. That's not a message for Israelis. That's a message for you. It's a message for me. It's a message for us at the ACLJ. It's when we are able to activate not only our office in ACLJ Jerusalem, and Jeff Balaban will be joining the broadcast later, but also our work right here in Washington, D.C., where I have been this week. President Biden is betraying Israel. That's even as Hezbollah ramps up their attacks on Israel, a second front in that conflict. And clearly we've got the squad in Congress has become that Hamas proxy, the anti-Semite caucus, if you will. It's out outrageous, but we're taking urgent action, and we need your support at ACLJ.org. In the next 2 days, we're preparing to send a large demand letter to the UN Commission of Inquiry to stop their lawfare against our ally Israel. We've just filed a FOIA against the Biden administration for funding pro-Hamas, quote, love this, climate organizations with your tax dollars. Like, that's what they're working on right now in the Gaza Strip is climate, but millions are going to it of your taxpayer dollars. We filed that FOIA, and we've just filed 3 written submissions at the UN to defend Israel. We take urgent action to defend Israel in its greatest time of need. We need your tax-deductible support. Donate today at ACLJ.org. Your supports make our fight possible. Donate today. That's ACLJ.org.